Child marriage, a topic shunned by many and yet has been happening throughout the globe even in this era. So what is child marriage? It is a union involving two parties where one or both is under the age of 18 and this happens regardless of gender. Needless to say, child marriage violates human rights no matter how you see it. Here, we have invited three families who will be sharing their first-hand experiences and a story about a young lady who managed to escape it and is living the life she chose herself. Viewer discretion is advised because you will be hearing stories based on real-life events containing sensitive material that may be triggering. No offense is intended towards any parties, and this video is meant for educational purposes only.
We agreed to let our daughter be married to another man since he offered a large sum of money that could last us for years. Our family were very poor and we cannot afford many things. And since she was the only child among five that was 15 years old, we decided to let her be married to him.
I was upset that she had to marry a man who is so much older due to our circumstances, but I thought that was the best for us. I broke down into tears when I saw her in her wedding dress. Never have I felt like such a failure to my daughter. When I sent her off on her wedding day, I could only hope that life would turn out better for her.
Before I got married, I dreamt of becoming a pediatrician. I worked very hard every day just to achieve that goal. But everything went down the drain when I had to marry that man. I cried every day because everything was so new and difficult. My husband was rarely home, so I was alone all the time, expected to do everything in the house. As time passed, he started coming home drunk every time. I was physically and sexually violated, and I wanted to leave, but I had nowhere to go. Eventually, I got pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. One day, I came home to find the doors locked with all my belongings outside. My husband had disappeared without notice or explanation. I lived in the streets with my baby girl for 2 months until a lady approached us and she took us into her care. It was the first time in a long time that I've slept in a bed. Life has been better since then, thanks to her. My baby is now almost a year old, and I hope that her life will be better than mine. I'll do what I can to ensure that she gets to school and she will not be married to a man against her will.
Child marriage has been going on for over centuries and has been seen as a core part of certain cultures. However, not all cultural and traditional practices are right. It is up to us to change these cultures and traditions from within simply because traditions are made by people and they can be changed by people.
We are from Kurdistan in Iraq, and we migrated to the UK in the year 1999. My wife and I were brought up in a very strict family, and because of that, we brought up our daughters in the very same way. We felt like we were protecting them by doing so. We both decided to marry off our second daughter and did not give her much thought to it because it was what we do back in Kurdistan. And we felt like we had to fulfill our traditions.
I was 16 when I was forced into marriage. It was not easy at home, but I was living the life of a typical teenager who hoarded posters of pop stars and read Goosebumps. Out of nowhere, my parents sat me down and told me that a 30-year-old man approached them about marrying me. I was confused and I felt hopeless, so I did not say much and agreed to it. Throughout the 2 years I was married to him, my life vanished before my eyes. I felt nothing but dread every day, doing things that I have no knowledge of, taking care of a household with a man I barely know, and had to drop out of college. It is when I got pregnant that I was determined to get out of this life. I underwent an abortion and built the courage to divorce my husband when I was 18. The divorce was not easy, but I stood my ground. Even so, my life right now is still an ongoing challenge. There is too much trauma to unpack, but I am trying my best to turn these painful experiences into activism. Now I am living every day to fight for girls like me, just so they will never be in situations like mine.
Not linked to a single religion. It happens to girls and boys of all types of faith. Besides, religious leaders do play an important role in resolving this issue. They can help so much by checking if both parties are above 18 before a religious wedding and can help people understand that their religion does not condone child marriage.
I was 12 when I was married to a 35-year-old man. I understood my family's situation at that time, and the man I was supposed to marry promised that he would take care of all of us. I knew that only he could provide me and my family with the things that my mother alone could not. With my heart full of fear and heaviness, I decided to marry him. However, we were deceived. After I got married, my mother only received a goat as a dowry.
My husband and I would both take turns just to catch enough fish so that we could sell them to put food on the table and afford to send our kids to school. If we are lucky, we would have food for days. If not, our kids will go bed hungry. When my husband passed, I was forced to provide for 10 young children alone. It was a very difficult choice, but I have to marry my oldest child off in order to gain financial help from her spouse.
As a wife, I was forced to stop school and take care of my husband. I felt like I had lost all my freedom because I'm living under the control of a man who I fear constantly. And it was worse when I got pregnant, and because I was so young, the pain I felt almost tore me apart. And now that 5 years has passed, and as someone who has personally experienced this, I will always believe that education is the first step in preventing child marriage.
When you Google child marriage, photos of Indian brides or teenage mothers from Africa will be pulled up. However, child marriage is a global issue that involves many parts of the world from Indonesia to Brazil and even some parts of Europe. In this story, you will hear about a young lady who actually managed to stop her child marriage and is now helping other girls do the same.
At the age of 13, I was told by my parents that I would marry off, and I knew right there and then that I was too young and my education is of utmost priority. But I also knew that agreeing to it would boost in financial support for my family who is really poor. So I made an offer to them that if the marriage is stopped and they allow me to continue my education, I will pay back everything that they've spent on me. I insisted that if I am forced to marry, they will get nothing and will never see me again. After weighing the options, my parents agreed with my proposal. Fast forward to more than a decade later, I am happy and successful woman who has helped so many young girls say no to marriage by teaching them how to be brave and also guiding them to reach their full potential through education.
Our survey is mainly to acquire the public's opinion on the causal relationship between effects of poverty and the rise of child marriage. To start off, majority of the survey respondents are between the ages of 20 to 23 years old, and more than half are categorized under the M40 income class. Looking at the results, the graph shows that a whopping 88% of the respondents have never encountered anyone that experienced child marriage. From the overall set of biographical questions, we can deduce that the respondents' income class has a direct relation towards their knowledge and experience on forced marriage. Generally, Since the upper class families are less likely to face issues pertaining finance as well as access to quality education, it is improbable that they would be unaware of the bad effects of child marriage. Hence, the issue of child marriage rarely occurs among their respective community. In short, the higher the income class, the lower the occurrence of child marriages of forcible wedlock. However, it is not to say that their inexperience with the topic at hand brings about the lack of compassion. In fact, it is quite the opposite. According to our survey, 57% of respondents are willing to sign petitions to repeal the law and would even initiate a report to the authorities if they came across an illegal act of child marriage. Besides that, most of them have stated that they gravitate towards providing emotional and financial support to the young victims. Thus, through this survey, I hope that the youth of today would exercise good judgment in ensuring that every individual receives an opportunity to reach their fullest potential, instead of succumbing to the pressure of child marriage. To conclude, I would like to first thank the victims and their families for coming in today to share something so personal yet holds so much significance. As you can see from our video, although child marriage is not happening as much as before in developed nations, but it is still noticeable in developing nations where poverty is still rampant and where religion still hold a higher power in the social control and perception. Let us all be united to put an end to child marriage. Thank you.